Hello, my name is Barry Kroeker. I play second oboe in the Pennsylvania Chamber Orchestra, and this is an oboe instructional video on the topic of breathing. This video has been produced in association with the Pennsylvania Chamber Orchestra. For more information about the PCO, please visit their website at pachamberorchestra.org. Before we get to principles of breathing on the oboe, let me share 3 facts about blowing the oboe. First of all, the pressure required to play, that's the breath pressure required to play the full dynamic range, that's from pianissimo to triple forte on the oboe, is between about 9 and 16 ounces. I know that from watching my teacher take a pressure gauge with a tube and insert it in his mouth while he was playing at those dynamic levels. So I watched the needle move, and that was what I recall. It's been 40 years, but that's what I recall seeing at that time. It takes a lot more pressure than that for you to cough or to sneeze. The moral of this whole story is that blowing the oboe should be a very easy thing to do. If you're doing it well, it should feel like you're really not working at all. If it's not easy, part of the breathing problem could be the reed. So you need to make sure that you're playing on a reed that is free blowing. Well, how do you know if a reed is free blowing? There's an exercise for that. So I call it the cheek test. We always have a little bit of air in our cheeks, and we can expel it with these little baby puffs of air just by moving our mouths. Let me see if you can hear this. All I'm trying to do is to push out the air in my mouth that's available in my mouth by kind of trying to push it out by moving my mouth. And it's a little baby puff of air. It's really not much at all. I can actually breathe in through my nose while I'm sort of doing these little cheek puffs. And if you hold your hand in front of your mouth, you can actually feel those little puffs of air. And you can practice breathing in while you're breathing out with your little cheek puffs. It's actually how we learn how to circular breathe on the oboe. Just keep playing forever without breathing. But the important thing is I can do those cheek puffs into the reed, and the reed should produce a sound. Now if you take your reed and it's properly soaked, you're ready to play, and you can't do that cheek test, which takes no work at all. It's just the air you have in your mouth. If you can't get that sound, then you probably need to get a better reed. So that's fact number 1. Blowing the oboe should be easy. Fact number 2, you'll almost always have more air than you need. So part of your challenge as an oboist will be what I call breath management. You need to get rid of the carbon dioxide in your lungs that you haven't used, and you need to refresh with oxygen that you do need to continue living. So the oboist challenge is not like the challenge of a tuba player or the challenge of a flute player, because they're always getting rid of a lot of air very quickly, and their problem is always how to get more. Our problem is how to get rid of the air we already have. So it's just a different way of thinking about breathing as an oboist that you should be aware of. How am I going to get rid of the air that I don't need? Of course, the logical way to do that is to blow it out. But we can't do that very easily through that little tiny opening. So we have to actually learn how to pace ourselves with our breathing, and breathe out when we need to breathe out, and breathe in when we need to breathe in. Just keep that at the back of your mind. It may help you. And finally, fact number 3, your body has a self-defense mechanism against excess breathing, that is, working too hard. The breathing muscles, those muscles that actually control what your lungs are doing, are very strong. And you probably all had that experience where you've tried to sneeze, and you kind of feel everything tightening up in your throat. Well, that's your body's way of saying to your lungs, hey, hey, I don't want you to blow my eardrums out. So something is going to happen. If you try to blow too hard on the oboe, just like if you try to cough too loud or you try to sneeze too intensely, your body is going to shut down and say, nope, I'm not going to allow you to do that because you're going to hurt yourself. And unfortunately, that's a problem I had as an oboist. And maybe you've had that occasionally yourself, where you've just felt yourself constricting and shutting down, and none of the air that you want to get out of your oboe is coming out at all. So a lot of the breath exercises that I'll introduce today are to avoid that kind of tension and rigidity. Because again, oboe playing should be very easy from a breathing standpoint, and we want to make it that way. So, several principles. First of all, diaphragmatic breathing. We breathe from the diaphragm, not the chest. So to illustrate this, I'm going to use a pencil, and I'm going to try to shift things around here a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to just angle the camera down to where the lungs are, right? And here's where our lungs are, right around here. And the diaphragm is a kind of a flat muscle across the bottom here that expands to allow the lungs to take in fresh oxygen. It works kind of like a bellows. So we expand, and then we contract that way, and the breath moves in and out. That's really how our breathing happens. If I just hold my fingers right around the tip of the pencil there, and I take a deep breath from the diaphragm, I can actually push that pencil out about a good inch or so. That's a good test you can do to see if you're breathing from the diaphragm. Just put that pencil right on your belly, about 4 inches above your belt line. Take a deep breath. And make sure that when the breath goes in, that pencil moves out. And you can kind of have fun seeing just how far you can get that pencil to move, so you get an idea, am I breathing from the diaphragm, which is the correct approach for the oboe. Now, in addition to expansion here, if you sort of check yourself out, you'll find that you will also expand in your sides as you breathe, and even in your back. So all that good diaphragmatic breathing will happen from down pretty low. And you can check that pretty easy. Use that test and see if it helps you. Let me see. Goal. The goal is to move as much air as you can without tension, without lifting your shoulders. One way you can measure the volume of air that you're producing is by the intensity that you can get in this little silly exercise. You've all told somebody to be quiet, right? Shh, shh, shh. Well, you can shush somebody using air from your diaphragm. So what I'm doing is I'm taking that diaphragmatic breath, and then I'm trying to expel it in a quick second or two. I'm trying to clear whatever that is, a pint or so of air in just a quick motion from the diaphragm. In, expand, and out, contract. That's a fair amount of sound I'm producing there. See if you can get that sound yourself. If you're getting these little tiny you're probably getting tight in your throat, and you want to just let that air flow out very smoothly. Now, there is an exercise you can do on the reed with this that's kind of fun, and that is you can just sort of get the reed in the way while you're breathing out with that. And you just sort of accidentally stick your oboe in while you're breathing out. And you should get this enormous raw sound. We're not really worried about embouchure. We're not really worried about quality. We're just interested in freedom, relaxation, and have the concept in your mind that you're really moving quite a bit of air. Okay, principle number 2, relaxed, not tight. All right, what I mean by that is we don't want to be rigid. We don't want to feel any intensity or any sort of choking in our throat, any sort of stifling of the air. We just want to puff little puffs of air, but this time not from our cheeks, as we were doing before, but from the diaphragm. So we're going to do a silly little doggy exercise, and we're going to pant. You ever seen a dog on a hot day? They always have their tongues out because that's how they get rid of excess body heat. Well, we're going to try to pant just a little bit of air in and out very quickly from the diaphragm. So every time we pant, we should be able to feel the motion in our lungs as we're doing that. And then what you can do then is just slide your oboe in while you're doing that. And you're sort of getting the beginning of vibrato there too. So it's a good way just to feel different about playing the oboe and hopefully feel quite a bit more relaxed. Principle number 3, plan your breaths. Breathe in and breathe out. Remember, we always have too much air, so we need to get used to getting rid of it. That means a lot of our breaths on the oboe. In fact, the majority of our breaths, the majority of our breathing time will actually be breathing out and not breathing in. Now, when you're actually playing on the oboe, what I'd suggest you do is when you have a long passage where you have to be playing and you don't have a lot of time to breathe, when you mark your breaths, as good musicians do with a little comma, maybe you'll want to write an I or an O so you'll know whether you're breathing in or out at that particular place. If you do that, and you figure out how you feel, if you need more air or you need to get rid of air. So you make a judgment. Do I need more air there, or do I need to get rid of some air? I'm going to get rid of some air there. So that's how you determine whether it's an I or it's an O. And then I think you'll find that you can play those longer passages much more easily because you're being strategic about taking your breaths. And a quick last principle, remember, when you're playing softly, this is not the time to stop blowing freely. So you can practice on the reed, getting softer and softer. But remember, don't get softer by breathing, by getting tight or by breathing less. Just maybe bring your jaw up a little bit and reduce the size of the reed opening. So you always have this air ready behind the reed to just gush out with absolute freedom. Keep that air right behind the reed. I love hearing a good clarinetist play, the way they can do those decrescendos and they just fade into nothing. You're not even sure they're still playing anymore. Work on that on the oboe. Hey, thanks for watching. I hope that some of this has helped you with your breathing, and I'll see you on another video.